Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Great Big Plugin Show. Today, we're going to be looking at the AMEK mastering compressor, and I'm pretty excited about this one. As are many people, we've all been waiting for a plugin that is modeled after this particular hardware unit for a long time. And Brainworks, Plugin Alliance, and AMEK showed up last week and delivered. So I've been doing a lot of research on this thing and playing with it a little bit ahead of the show just to make sure that I fully understand what's going on and we get a really good demo going here. This thing, it's extremely exciting and we're going to jump right in. But before we do, I got to ask you to do all the YouTube stuff. So ring the bells down below, hit the thumbs up buttons, and all that stuff. Please subscribe. That does help us keep these shows going. I'm usually here every Monday, either doing Mix Tank Live or an episode of the Great Big Plugin Show, and your support helps us keep around or whatever. So, all right, let's dive in. So, we have the website pulled up here. And this is over at Plugin Alliance. So first thing is at the top here, you'll see that if you are a Mega Bundle subscriber with Plugin Alliance, this was added to your account. As it was for me, disclaimer, I haven't been approached by Plugin Alliance. This is completely off the cuff, and it's just a plugin that I was super excited about, so I wanted to dive into it. So we'll go down here and just check out some stuff that's going on. They got some videos at the top. I definitely want to point out Justin Coletti's video. It's fantastic, and he goes really far in depth on the technical aspects of what's going on in the compressor. There's also some great videos from Greg Bauer that I saw. So very cool stuff. So what is so neat about this plugin? This is basically three kind of compressors in one. It's one compressor. It's more like three detectors inside of one compressor. And we're going to dive into how they interact with each other. Adjusting one adjusts all of them, and it's a very very versatile compressor. It's got a great tone to it, and it's something that you can get many different uses out of. It's great on individual tracks. We're going to check it out on a mix, and then we're also going to try it out on a lead vocal and a drum loop. So that'll be fun. And chat room, great to see you guys as always. If you want to hear it on something in particular, let me know in the chat. We'll try to do it before we head out of the stream today. So, okay, going down, they tell you a lot about what's going on in the UI. I'm going to repeat a lot of this, so there's no point in us reading aloud here. But one thing I wanted to point out was down here at the bottom, we have a bunch of industry reviews from different people. And one that I found really interesting was from Michael Romanowski. And Michael happened to point out that this is very reminiscent of the GML 2030 hardware. So normally in these things, you have to be very careful about what you say with things being modeled after a particular unit. I don't know that there's any collaboration between GML and Plugin Alliance on this one. But since I see it on the website, this is the original piece of hardware. This is the GML 2030 Mastering Dynamic Range Controller. And it's highly revered by mastering engineers. I've been lusting after one for a long time, but never dove in. And a lot of it is because of the different versatility. It can be fast, it can be slow, it can add density, it can just take care of peaks. There's a whole lot of uses for this thing. So as a little history lesson, if you want to know more, you can head over to massenberg.com. That's the guy that invented the parametric equalizer. And you can read about it. Very, very cool history lesson. Also, this is no longer around. So if we go up to the products page for Massenberg, this is under the discontinued list. So again, I don't know that this is exactly going after a 2030. So, I could be wrong there, and there's nothing stating that it really is other than what we see on the site here. So, all right, let's dive over to Pro Tools and check out how this sounds, because that's going to be a lot more fun. So here we go. Let's head over. And I've got a mix pulled up here. This song is called Tidal Wave. You guys can watch the mix video of it on puremix.com. Rich Keller did this mix, and it's amazing and phenomenal. There's not a whole lot to do when you get something that's mixed by Rich Keller, but we're going to use this one for an example. And, just kind of looking at the waveform, which, like, not a great thing for a mastering engineer to start by looking at a waveform, but we do see a lot of peak energy going on here, so that's something that we can potentially, demo out with the plugin and see what happens here. So I'm going to pull it up, and here we go. This is the AMEK mastering compressor. Okay, so let's go over the UI. To start with, we have over on the left, we've got threshold, as one would expect on a compressor. Moving over to the right, we've got two green knobs, timing and hysteresis. If anybody can spell hysteresis without looking it up in the chat right now, you will get a high five from me. I'll do it to the camera. It's going to be awesome. Spelling contest. So there you go. Going to the right of that, we have the next two knobs. So we have moving from threshold to some timing knobs, and now we have level controls for two more side chains. So there's a peak side chain and a fast side chain. We'll talk about that in a second. Moving on more to the right, we've got output for the end and a ratio control. You guys know what those are from compressors. I won't go into that. To the right of that, we have headroom. So headroom is going to adjust how aggressive it is for input signal. We can add more or less headroom. We've seen this on some other Brainworks compressors and Plugin Alliance plugins. There's a bunch of different knobs and stuff that we'll see on a lot of their plugins, but good to have it here. And then down below, we've got a mix knob for doing things in parallel. Then to the right, we've got a sidechain link, which is very, very unique, and we're going to talk about that in a second as well. So those are our basic compressors. Over on the right, it's the right side, channel 2. This thing can also work in mid-side. If you run in mid-side, the left channel controls the mid, the right channel controls the sides. Down below that, we've got the detectors activity monitor. Very cool. Basically, even in the layout as it's pulled up right now, you can see that there's 3 colored lines in there. There's a green, a yellow, and a red, just like a stop sign or a stoplight, right? So green is going to be our first threshold. It's a slower compressor. Red is obviously peak. Yellow is fast. Yeah, maybe it doesn't totally apply to driving, but we'll keep moving on. So we can monitor what's going on with each of those down here in the activity monitor. We've got an ambience monitor control here. So when we hit that, it'll solo up exactly what the side chain is doing, and we can listen to how it's reacting. Very useful for adjusting timing, which we're going to check out. Down below that, sidechain filter module. So this is also extremely, extremely helpful. And then below that, we've got some of the usual Brainworks, Plugin Alliance controls down here. This should look pretty familiar. Over on the left, input gain. Then we have their TMT modeling, which models the differences between 2 different analog channels. Basically, if you have even 2 of the hardware units, the idea is that they never quite sound the exact same, so they're trying to do some of the variances there. And then over to the right, we have a mono maker. This is awesome for multiple applications, but basically deciding what's going up the center, so you could cut lows out of your sides. And then we have a stereo width module, so you can increase the width and throw things out of phase if you want to. Then we have the option to flip the compressor into mid-side mode. And you'll see when I do that, the left channel goes over to M for mid, S for side. And to the right, we can unlink and link parameters. And then we have a VCA clip section. So we can make this thing a dirty compressor. The original is known for being extremely transparent when you want it to be, but also versatile enough that if you push it, you can get some saturation, some sound for it. So this knob's going to give us a little bit more flexibility for deciding how hard we want to drive the compressor. Then at the very end, we have our final output knob. So that's all the controls. Do you know what all those knobs do? I do. Okay, nice. The spellings for hysteresis are amazing in the chat. You guys are doing awesome. I don't think I see the correct one yet. Oh, Karen got it. High five, Karen. Awesome. I think it was Karen. Was it somebody else? Ooh, it might have been Isomatic. All right, I hope nobody used Google. All right, let's dive in. So here I've got the plugin and bypass, and we're going to listen to the mix first and see what we decide we want to do with it. Here we go. time from the beginning of it.
Feels like this when you stressed out. Hit my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
Okay, so again, this mix sounds incredible, and the things that I'm going to use the compressor to go after are things that also make the mix awesome, but we're going to do this for example's sake. So I'm going to hit play from where my timeline is at right now, my playback head, and I want you guys to listen to the high-end transient stuff. So like the crack of the snare, there's some like different sound effect stuff going on that's adding in on the percussion. So take a listen to that. We're still in bypass. Here we go. All right, so to start off with, let's, I'm probably going to end up chasing some of those peaks, some of the high-end content that's going on in that, but let's just move in from the beginning of the plugin. So our threshold is going to be our master threshold for the entire compressor. And then basically, these are going to be level controls for pushing up the other detectors that are in the circuit. So we'll just start by adjusting the threshold. Here we go.
Feels like this when you stressed out. Hit my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
Okay, so one thing that you'll notice is that we got an automatic gain bump as soon as I started pushing up the threshold on the compressor, and things are getting louder. So unfortunately, you guys are going to have to volume jockey a little bit on your side, and just watch your monitor volume as I'm doing here as well. But okay, the idea is that when you raise the threshold, the output goes up as well. They're trying to do automatic gain compensation there. So I'm going to keep pushing a little bit, and we'll go too far.
Feels like this when you stressed out. Hit my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
All right, next thing to point out here, we have 3 different indicators for when compression is happening. So right below peak and in between above fast, we have PFS, and those light up when either the slow compressor, S, is going, the fast compressor, or the peak compressor. And then you'll also see on the activity monitor when each one of those is going by their name lighting up in their respective color. So one more time.
Feels like this when you stressed out. Hit my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get.
Okay, so to dial this in, one of the things I'm going to do first is a little trick that I found when I was playing with this earlier. I'm going to go over to the activity monitor and turn on ambience. This means that I'm basically monitoring what the compressor is doing off of the detectors. And I'm going to use this in parallel with the mix, or in conjunction with the mix knob. So when I have this up at 100%, I'm just listening to the activity. As I bring it back, I'm going to be listening to the original sound. And then I'm going to use the timing and the real hysteresis, or release hysteresis control, to dial in something that works well with the groove of the compressor. Here we go. Or groove of the music, I should say.
This when you stressed out. Hit my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive. Feels like this when you stressed out. Hit my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
So what I'm listening for is just something that's like kind of pumping and breathing along with the music. I'm listening to the note value of the kick drum as it's coming through there. And I'm just kind of playing between these two controls to see where I can get something that feels good. So I kind of got something I like. I'm going to put our mix back up. I'm going to come out of ambience mode, and then let's play around with the threshold again.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
In bypass.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
So that would be an example of one approach that you could take to this thing where you're almost accentuating the kick. It's pumping a little bit on that groove where the kick drum's hitting in, and because of the timing setup and everything, it's kind of bringing up the bump of that. That's one way. Another way we could do this is to go after the peaks. So what I'm going to do now is the same thing with the ambience control, but I'm going to use that sidechain filter, and I'm going to start filtering out some of the kick drum. I'm going to try and hone in more on the snare, and then I'm going to be using more of the peak and the fast compressors. So here we go.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm not able to get out Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost.
So I found my snare and my, those different pops and everything. We're hearing a lot of the popcorn type Rice Krispies effects from the peak detector going into the compression circuit, exceeding the threshold and starting to kick in there. Now I'm going to play with those timing knobs a little bit more and see if I can just kind of tighten it around the snare. We had adjusted it for the kick drum before, so.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The way when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
And also, if I wanted to, I could, maybe put a little 4K in the side chain and accentuate the snare a little more.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down.
And let's listen with it in.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The way when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
Without.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The way when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
And back in.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Get my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The way when I come down. I'm not able to get out.
So there's some of the versatility that comes in with this compressor. It's, those are two different jobs where one is I want to accentuate the groove or the kick drum, the bottom of the track. I want it to pump a little bit more when those transients happen. And I could have used that to balance it out with the snare. I could also, go the other direction with it and do a faster attack and push the kick back in the mix. And then also if, I was feeling like the snare or some of that high frequency stuff was a little bit too loud, I could, again, just kind of adjust my settings, hone in the attack and release times, use that sidechain filter, and go after those peaks. So two great examples of how versatile this thing is there. Okay. Nice. You guys are commenting on the microphone. I must have had something go wrong with my my UA console thing there. I'll have to figure that out. Let me do it over here. I'll tell you what. Quick intermission while we fix up my microphone for everybody in the chat. Stand by. There's the problem. All right. Hopefully that's better. Moving on. Okay. So heading back over to Pro Tools. We've got that compressor guy going on. Let's see what happens when we push some of that VCA clipping and just hear the sound of that. Here we go.
Feels like this when you're stressed out. Hit my head all the way down. It's a maze when you get down. I'm already lost. The wave when I come down. I'm not able to get out alive.
So pretty extreme setting at first there, and I like to do that with plugins because it helps you get the sound of what's actually happening when the unit's overdriven, and then you can kind of blend into taste until you feel like it's actually coming in. So this would be a dirtier version of that master. So very, very handy. I didn't even dive into the ratios really. Obviously, like with any compressor, as you increase the ratio, the threshold has to come up. In most cases, anyway, there are no absolutes, but very, very useful to know that as you're going on with this. It is true in this compressor. So if I boost the ratio, I got to bring the threshold up to make them behave together. And over on the sidechain link, one really cool thing about this plugin that is pretty unique to it is they have over on the left, you see that there's a max. And then if I hit this button, it moves over to average. And that allows us to decide whether we're going to look at an individual channel sidechain for the peak information, or if we're going to look at the average between both channels for that peak information. And that's for the sidechain. So let's say that something over on the left, just spikes out of nowhere. That would trigger as the maximum sidechain level, and the compressor would react to it across both channels if you're working in stereo, and you're linked up with 100%. If I flip this over to average, it would kind of ignore that peak, and it would just be looking at the average between the two channels. Obviously, the peak would affect the average a little bit, but it's looking at a smoother version of the sidechain, if you will. And then obviously you have a link control for how much you want to blend those two together. Very handy, and especially in mid-side to keep it from going like the sides are going back while the center's going forward and all that stuff. So yeah, super handy. So that's a little bit of a stereo bus application. We didn't necessarily get a crazy result off of that, but I think that the compressors, all the controls make sense there. So, okay. So, Dowdy Ty says, what about peaks at about 8K and higher? Let's find out. Why don't we hone in on that on this mix? Okay, I'm gonna go chasing it with my sidechain filter here. So. Cool. Okay, so we are honed in on that in the side chain. So now what we could do, a lot of that information is going to be very fast. There's not going to be a lot of like sustained information up that high. So we could probably use a little bit more of the peak and the fast compressor on there or the fast detector. And we'll just kind of dial those in. So let's listen to our ambience. So now we're going to monitor the side chain of the compressor. All right, so I've got it dialed in on those transients, and then if we kind of listen to it in the track here.
I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost.
And then in bypass.
I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down.
So pretty fun. We can actually kind of dial that in, and we can pull back a lot of that high transient stuff and then make it a little bit more vocal forward. So I'll bring the threshold up, and we'll hear some of that stuff go down while the output's also coming up, because again, this compressor boosts output as you bring up the threshold. So here we go.
I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost. The wave gonna come down. I'm not able to get out alive. I'm already lost.
So that's pretty cool. That's 3 different use cases that we had for this compressor across this mix. For, we want to bring some of that high transient, snappy information down and essentially, pull more emphasis on the vocal. We adjusted our kick so that we emphasize the kick, and we also dealt with the snare peaks. So pretty cool. Yes, definitely pumping fast, and we would definitely kind of move around on the timing to make it feel a little bit better. But you can hear what's kind of going on for as far as dialing in the detectors, and that's kind of really where I feel that this plugin shines. Is you've got 3 different detectors that you're blending together to get the result that you want. So while these examples are pumping a little bit and all of that stuff, like we can adjust all of that timing and then do more subtle jobs when we're actually, in practice. But for the sake of demonstration, pretty cool. All right. Let's go over to a vocal example. All right. So I'm going to turn this guy off, and then let me pull up our vocal track here. If you guys have been on Puremix for a while, you've heard the track. This is Jealousy from Brandy and the Alexanders. And this was tracked at a Puremix masterclass that was live in New York City. Mick Guzowski tracked this, and Fab DuPont did a mix on it. These tracks are not mixed. I've got a little bit of EQ going on in the vocal, but these tracks are not mixed that we're listening to right now. But I love this vocal as an example because, as you can see in the waveform, the beginning half of this is very, very dynamic, right? So we've got a big peak here. We've got some quiet valleys going on in the beginning of it. It's going to make for a good example. And then things get a little bit more even at the end. Likely some changes during tracking and all that, but they liked the take on, this one before maybe things were dialed in. So, okay, I have the compressor pulled up. This is the mono version of the compressor. We're on a mono channel, so that makes sense. All of our controls are pretty much the same. Obviously, we're not worried about averages between the left and right channel, so we don't see those controls, but we've got our main control section, our activity monitor, our side chain, and all of our usual controls at the bottom here. So let's dive in.
Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter where I run.
So especially on Overpower Me, the P just kind of jumps out of the speakers and she's extremely loud. So one more time in bypass.
Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me.
All right, so let's see if we can level this out a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of this quiet section and dial in something with the slow compressor. Here we go.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green? Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green? Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you gotta make me feel so defeated?
And then we're going to move over to this other section and dial in our peak and our fast detectors here.
Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me. Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me. Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me. Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me. Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me.
So I've got a little bit of an average thing going on. Some of the faster stuff is being picked up, and then we're going after that P on power with the peak detector. So we'll go back a little bit, and here we go.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter where I run,
And then here's without for a reminder. There's a little bit of a volume difference. Here we go.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me.
And one more time in.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me. So
definitely kind of leveling things out. And if I, continue messing with the timing and the peak and all of that, I could get it even, reacting a little bit better. This is normally something that on vocals you might go after with the classic 1176 into an LA2A trick. We're using one as a peak, dealing with some of the faster stuff to try and just take care of some of the very, very loud section stuff and smooth it out before we go into an LA2A for some overall shaping. So that's another really cool use of this, is that we can dial in those three detectors and get something that blends really well like that. Obviously, we could keep going with the sidechain too, but let's just play with the timing a little bit and see if things get cooler.
green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter where I run, I just can't overcome.
Now, one thing to point out on here, the timing is, right now we're over around 12 milliseconds. Over on the left, it's 70, 1.2 on the right, so faster setting. And the release control, moving in a little bit of the same way, where as we go up, we're going between 1, 8, the release hysteresis control that you guys won points for in the spelling contest. Same way as we turn that up. So it's important to pay attention to the knobs. There are dB labels, millisecond labels next to each of the knobs to help you remember that you're boosting level of a sidechain and that you're adjusting timing here. So here we go.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter where I run, I just can't overcome. I know that you're lying to me, that the grass ain't so green. I know it isn't so, but you.
So this is a really good section here. I'm going to play it in bypass again and just listen to the level differences as she gets quieter on some of these words.
I know that you're lying to me, that the grass ain't so green. I know it isn't so.
Especially on words like so green, she kind of dips back a little bit. So listening again with the compressor.
I know that you're lying to me, that the grass ain't so green. I know it isn't so, but you won't let me go.
So it's really easy to kind of dial something in. You know, we keep playing with it if we wanted something more natural or that you don't hear compression as much. But it's nice and you can get the vocal to just kind of sit right in front of you and stay parked instead of just kind of moving in and out depth-wise, which is nice. So cool. Let's move on to our last example here, and that is going to be a drum loop where we're going to play around with making this thing really messy and trying to get something fun out of it. Okay, so this is from The Light Shine Through by Ill Factor, and it's part of a start to finish that's on Puremix as well, so you guys can check out how the song was made. Here we go, and I'm going to put the compressor in bypass and pull it up here. It's a little bit quiet, so I'm just doing some clip gain to bring it up into the compressor. All right, so coming out of bypass, we're on our stock default settings here. And I want to go for something, it's a dirty loop already, but I want to kind of crunch it up more and see if we can get something a little more interesting. You know, there's some ambience in there. It might be cool to see if we can make it pump. And yeah, let's just play around and see what kind of different options we can get from it. All right, here we go. All right, so here it is in bypass. And let's not forget about our handy dandy mix knob, and we'll bring some of this in to add some attitude to it. So yeah, just kind of dialing that in and bringing up all the ambience around it and all that. Might be a little overcooked. Obviously, I would make that decision in a mix, but you can see how flexible this is. It's basically I'm deciding I want to do something, and then I'm able to get to it really, really quick. So I'm finding it extremely versatile. I love how clean it can be. Obviously, in this case, I buried the VCA clip all the way down to try and get it to saturate a bunch and add some density to it. But in a mix bus compressor, I actually really like clean mix bus compression. And this definitely seems to me like it's something that's going to end up on my mix bus and my template very, very soon. I'm excited to dig into it more, and I think I'm going to get a lot of miles out of this one, so I'm pretty pumped about it. What do you guys think in the chat? How do you dig it? 6 of 1 could have used this morning. Nice. It's still available. Awesome. Let's see what else here. So I was talking with my mic muted. Very nice. Yeah, I think that's about going to wrap it up for this one. So I think they have a 14-day trial over at Plugin Alliance. You guys should definitely go check it out and see what you think of it. But yeah, long-awaited plugin. Glad to see a version of it pop up. It's incredibly handy. I love the 3 detectors, blending those things together. I feel like I can get what I want out of it very fast, and it's got a little bit of tonal options on there. One last note, I did notice some tone change too when it just comes out at bypass, which is pretty cool. I ran it, through some of the usual frequency analyzers and all that to see what was going on. I didn't see a big thing other than a little bit of a gentle roll off on the top and a little bit on the bottom, maybe. And then my perception of it is that the low mids come down just a hair and things just kind of open up. But there's a number of things that could be. That could be the TMT modeling that's in the Brainwork stuff and all of that. So definitely download it, put it on your tracks, and see what you guys think about it, see what you notice. Let me know in the comments down below. And next week, for my regular people out there, we're going to be having Mix Tank on Tuesday. So we'll be back on Tuesday, February 7th, instead of the Monday. Headed out to LA for something called the Granny Awards. It's like Grandma Awards. I'm not totally sure, but should be fun. And I'll be back Monday night. So we'll be live Mix Tank on Tuesday, and looking forward to it. As a reminder, ring the bell, hit the subscribe button, all of those things. It helps us to keep going. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time. Bye.